Welcome back to Top 10 Tuesdays, everybody. DBougie86 here again. And this week, me and the guys are doing our top 10 favorite trilogies in our collection. Now, this was a kind of tough list to make, I might be honest. And the way I did it, I kind of cheated in a way. I have a few Asian trilogies in here. And some of those Asian trilogies, of course, have... there's a U.S. remake of one of the films in that said trilogy. So the way I did it was, since it's from a different country, I didn't include it in the series because I want the trilogy to stand on its own, because it is another country's interpretation of that film, said film. And that being said, I'm not going to show every film in the trilogy. I'm going to show like one film per number. There's a few sets in here, I might add. So I have the whole trilogy and a few of the sets. With that being said, let's get into this. And at number 10, we have the Basket Case Trilogy, of course, represented here by the first film. Now, part 2 and 3 kind of take the tone of the seriousness of the story of Belial and Dwayne to over the top kind of limit. And I can see why people don't really care for those films, but I actually have fun with them because they are kind of fun, cheesy films with some fucking over the top moments, I might add. With fucking fun ass trilogy, especially if you haven't seen the Basket Case Trilogy. I highly recommend all three films. So number 10. Number 9, we have the One Missed Call Trilogy. Of course, the first one has a U.S. remake, but like I said, it's another country's remake of said film. As I said, it was like a Japanese remake of that said film, I would include it. And of course, part 1 is directed by Takashi Miike, who's actually one of my favorite directors. And 2 and 3, kind of not as good as the first one, but still enjoyable in my opinion, because I actually really dig. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really the biggest fan of ghost J horror films. There's a few that I like, and the few that I like involve technology, and I like how they use cell phones in this one as the way the people die and shit. So One Missed Call at number 9. Number 8, we have the Feast Trilogy, of course represented here by the first one. When I first heard about this film, I know it was part of a Project Greenlight with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck show where they hire a director to make a film. And this one they hired a writing crew and a director to make the film, and they actually added Wes Craven on as one of the producers. He was actually on Project Greenlight with Affleck and Damon during the making of this film and the process. I actually never got a chance to watch that when it was on air, but I remember it being advertised, especially on Bravo. And with that being said, I really enjoy all three films in this trilogy. I never thought it was going to be a trilogy when this first one came out. And I like how all three films begin where the last one ended. Fucking blast. I really like the effects and the gore in all three of them. Fucking awesome trilogy in my opinion, the Feast Trilogy. That's at number 8. Number 7, we have the Maniac Cop Trilogy. Of course, starring Robert Zadar as Matt Cordell out throughout the trilogy. Kind of like a slasher in a way in the first one, but then it gets more high-octane action. And part 3 is kind of a step down, but it's still fun in my opinion because of the cast performing in this over-the-top scenario. Trying to take themselves serious with serious performances is actually kind of funny to me. But I highly enjoy all three Maniac Cop films for what they are. I highly recommend that trilogy. That's at number 7. I believe, yep, number 7. Number 6, we have the Daimajin Trilogy. Now, you know me, I had to add some sort of kaiju trilogy on this. I was thinking of doing the Gamma Trilogy, but of course that's part of like a bigger franchise of films, even though they're their own three films. They're not interconnected towards like the older 70s and early 60s ones. And with that being said, I decided on the Dom and Janet because there's no other films besides these three that I know of involved in this kaiju. And it's kind of fun because it kind of mixes like samurai shit going on with like kaiju shit. I really like the look of Damagen. He's fucking badass. And he gets more badass as the series progresses, especially in part 3. Fucking, you're like wondering when the fuck he's gonna use that knife that he has on his side. He has it throughout all 3 films. And he fucking uses it. Fucking awesomeness right here. Damagen at number 6. Number 5, we have Hatchet. I highly enjoy all 3 Hatchet films. Of course, the first 2 directed by Adam Green and the third one directed by B.J. McDonnell. Part 2 kind of had some slow moments for me, I won't lie, but it had some good kills that made up for the slow parts. And with that being said, yeah, part 3 is probably my second favorite, and part 1's my favorite, of course. Really great kills, of course, with Kane Hodder playing Victor Crowley as this big giant mongoloid like fucking guy like Kane Hodder usually plays in movies. Fucking awesomeness right here. Hatchet number 5. Sorry, I can never count darn these at all. Plus it's kind of hot in this room right now. Number 4, we have Reanimator, of course. The first one directed by Stuart Gordon, and Bride and Beyond directed by Brian Usna. Really fun trilogy. I like how the effects are and shit on the creatures changes throughout it. The corpses, I mean, not creatures. Can't talk today. But yeah, I really dug that Jeffrey Combs reprised his role for Herbert West throughout the trilogy in different stages too, because there's kind of like a year span between these films. And fucking when part 3 first came out, I was kind of like, really? Kind of iffy, and it kind of, I remember airing on the Sci-Fi Channel. This is the first time I ever saw it, and I thought I really dug the story and shit, and I really liked the setting in the prison. Kind of reminded me of Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell, in a way, with the prison setting. Fucking cool ass trilogy, Reanimator. Number 3, we have the Animals Trilogy, of course, directed by Dario Argento. All these films are like giallo, so that some of them are not technically horror films, but they have like slasher motifs in them. So I still count them in the horror circles. And with that being said, I really dig all 3 films. I know Cat of Nine Tails is kind of like a weird like plot and shit, with like a kind of like a spy like fucking. It kind of feels like a spy movie at times, which I really dig like the blind guy in the movie, played by Karl Malden, of course. And all 3 endings are cool, in my opinion. I think the weakest one of the trilogy is Cat, but it's still fucking kind of funny at the same time with the ending. It's kind of a goofy ending, in my opinion. But I really enjoy all 3 films. Cool shit right here. The Animals Trilogy from Dario Argento. Fucking awesomeness. And number 2, these films aren't technically horror films, but they are revenge films, and I kind of lumped revenge in with the horror genre, and they're awesome revenge films, I might add. And of course, that's the Vengeance Trilogy, which implies a symphony of Mr. Vengeance, Old Boy, and Lady Vengeance. Of course, Old Boy has a U.S. remake, of course, directed by Spike Lee, but of course, it's from a different country, so I'm not including it, because these films deserve to stand on their own as their own trilogy, and they do. Fucking awesomeness. This set's from Canada, comes in the slimline. Fucking dopeness right here. Yeah, of course, with Chow Min Sick as fucking an Old Boy is a fucking great performance. Lady Vengeance actually probably my favorite film in the trilogy. They actually get better in my opinion as they go on, with Lady Vengeance being the last film in the trilogy. Fucking awesomeness, especially if you're a big fan of fucking revenge films. Highly recommendable. And at number 1, we have, of course, Lucio Fulci's The Gates of Hell trilogy, represented here by The Beyond. Of course, implying City of the Living Dead, The Beyond, and The House by the Cemetery. The Beyond, all 3 films I actually highly love. It's hard for me to choose a favorite out of these. When I watched all 3 of them, I was fucking blown away from like the effects and the stories and the subplots and all the shit going on. And of course, the fucking scores are fucking amazing. With Fabio Frizzi scoring the first 2 and Walter Rizziotti scoring part House by the Cemetery. Fucking awesomeness right here. So The Gates of Hell at number 1. Awesome shit right there. And of course, that's the end of my top 10, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you guys watch the other guys' videos. And as always, I'll see you next Tuesday. Peace out.